introduce our talented panelists representing successful student groups from across the university system. We have Caroline Hansley from NC State. Would you stand, please? Caroline is a candidate to graduate in May of 2014 with a bachelor's in interdisciplinary studies. She is a fellow for the North Carolina Student Energy Network, the founder of Fossil-Free NC State, and the first student coordinator for the new State Stewards Program. Last year, she created a campaign to establish a sustainability fund at NC State. With Fossil-Free NC State, she works with UNC system administrators to run a renewable energy campaign. Caroline is also a Udall Scholar. We also have Derek Strong from UNC Greensboro. Derek is pursuing a master's in economics and plans to stay an extra semester past his graduation date of December of 2013 to test out some PhD courses. He's a member of the Triad Student Energy Alliance, which is dedicated to promoting clean energy solutions on campus. Derek completed his undergraduate studies at UNC Asheville and graduated in December of 2010. There, he worked as an energy and water coordinator at the Student and Environmental Center, where he researched and implemented energy and water efficiency projects. He did similar work on campus for a year after graduating as part of the NC Student Energy Internship and Fellowship Program administered by the North Carolina Energy Office. Additionally, he was a member of the student group's Active Students for a Healthy Environment and the Campus Dwelling Tour. Linda Toft from Appalachian State. Linda is a candidate to graduate in December of 2013 with a master's in appropriate technology. She holds a Bachelor of Science in Landscape Architecture from Ohio State. She works with the Office of Sustainability at Appalachian State as a graduate assistant, helping to lead the Zero Waste Initiative. Through this position, she manages student volunteers for the football tailgating recycling program, in addition to a group of 8 interns. She has also been a representative on the Graduate Student Association Senate and involved with the Appalachian Solar Club. We also have Ray Atkinson from UNC Charlotte. Ray graduated from UNC Charlotte in May of 2013 with a Bachelor's of Science in Geography, a Community and Regional Planning concentration, and an Urban Studies minor. As a student, he was the founder and president of the Cyclist Club, co-chair of the Charlotte Green Initiative, founder and president of the Geography Club, co-founder and member of the Parking and Transportation Advisory Board, inaugural member of the College of Liberal Arts and Sciences Advisory Board, inaugural Eco-Rep of the Eco-Reps program, and the student senator for his college from 2010 until 2012. We also have Doug Steigler from UNC Chapel Hill. Doug is a rising junior studying business at UNC's Keenan Flagler Business School, planning to graduate in 2015. He is co-chair of UNC's Renewable Energy Special Projects Committee, which allocates student fee revenue to renewable energy, energy efficiency, and energy education projects on campus. He also actively works with the undergraduate chapter of Net Impact, focusing on sustainable business and the triple bottom line. As you listen to the panelists speak about their student-led initiatives, think to yourself, how can we be more informative and more helpful and bring students onto our team? How can we embrace their ideas and mentor them to achieve a greater good for the university system and North Carolina as a whole? Their stories of success were made possible through collaboration in the university between multiple departments. We are all here for higher education. So when a student group has a project idea, see this idea as a collaborative educational opportunity for yourself, your colleagues, students, the university, and North Carolina. We'll hear from each of our students, and then I'll entertain questions at the end.
Is this one on? Okay, great. Hi everyone, my name is Caroline. You're right, you really can't see me. And I'm a senior at NC State, and I've been organizing a statewide renewable energy campaign with the North Carolina Student Energy Network. And I just want to say really quickly that I'm really grateful to be here. There's a lot of talented students in North Carolina working on many different things, as you heard, but to speak after Mr. Cortese and last night is just really humbling, and I'm very inspired to go back to school and tell everyone how great the sun was. And I also want to say interdisciplinary studies, my degree now makes me feel really solid after hearing Anyway, so we can go to my first slide. Oh, I do that. That's right, sorry. Did I kill it? Okay, great. So, when I think of leadership, which is why we're up here, student leadership, I think of an energy revolution and how I envision myself helping to lead this movement. I think of how the UNC system can tackle even more than what we're already doing right now, because we're really great at what we're doing. All of the success stories that we've heard are inspiring to students, faculty, and staff. But when I look at campaigns as an organizer, I don't necessarily look at them affecting my individual lifestyle changes, like changing light bulbs. I think it's great, it saves money, but as President Ross said, we have $2.5 billion worth of these projects sitting around and we don't have the capital to do them. So I see change influencing corporate or political, or in this case, institutional campaigns. I think systematic change is where we'll see the largest and most beneficial results for the climate as well as in economic savings. For my generation, climate change is really a moral issue. Everyone's touched on that. But speaking from the young people here today, I think we see the impacts already of increased storm activity and intensity and record droughts. And for North Carolina, that's going to have a huge impact. But what concerns me most is that the millennial generation, our generation, is going to have to deal with the worst that's yet to come. Pictured here, you'll see my fossil-free core team, and one of the ways that we've affected change last semester was by passing a student government resolution that asked our chancellor to begin talks with President Ross and Duke Energy about renewable energy and increasing it as the largest school in the system. Okay, so as a leader, I'm really proud to be a part of the UNC system. I actually transferred to state, but I really love it. Go back. And but we're all collaborating now. So I think we're trying really hard, and all of us in this room is a testament to that and all the work that went into it. We've accomplished a lot of things, but I think if you look at the root cause of all of our problems with energy, it can be traced back to Duke Energy. And it's not just students that are upset about what Duke is doing for communities and citizens. They're upset about proposed rate hikes, which we'll be feeling the effects of, their 20-year plan, which includes less than 3% renewable energy, which I think is abysmal, and how it impacts our futures. For us, it looks like more coal ash ponds leaking and poisoning our water supply, like it's happening in my hometown of Asheville right now. As a system, it was mentioned last night, we give Duke Energy over $200 million every year to pay our bills. And at the same time, we're trying really hard and succeeding in reducing our power consumption, making great sustainability goals, passing green funds, taxing ourselves, and we have a lot to be proud of. But what we get in return is that Duke Energy is still providing us with dirty coal, methane-emitting natural gas, and risky nuclear energy. With our state network, North Carolina Student Energy Network, we envision success by meeting with administrators, which we're doing, it's really fun. Our system standing up to Duke Energy by collaborating with widespread grassroots support from students and faculty to support more renewable energy being implemented on our campuses, not in 2050, but starting right now for a better climate and energy future that we deserve. So essentially, this is a campus campaign that encourages system, collective, and collaboration to accomplish this work. Okay, so this brings me to the IT industry, and I'm really excited to talk about this because the speaker that just spoke, who you were really awesome by the way, talked about outside sources and working with other sectors, and this is that in a nutshell. Everybody knows Apple, Facebook, and Google, but what you may not know is that they are working to make huge efforts of committing to 100%, I just want to repeat that, 100% renewable energy right here in North Carolina for their data centers, which is a lot of energy. And they're doing it because it's what their customers want. It's because these companies realize that climate change is already happening and that their founders are making it a top priority. So what they're doing, which is really amazing, is leveraging their purchasing power because their customers have voiced that they're concerned about climate change. It's going to impact them, and it's the right thing to do, action. So, like I said, Apple, they've actually built one of the largest solar farms in the country right here in North Carolina, which is really cool. And other sectors, or other companies like Google, are sitting down with people like Duke Energy, the industry, and saying, we need to develop a renewable energy purchasing program for large customers. and we need to have a win-win situation for both of us. What we envision for success is the UNC system doing the same thing, getting capital from these big industry giants where we don't have it, and working together to collaboratively achieve the same goals. I think that what success will look like for us in the future is working together with these sectors to leverage our purchasing power to help the customers, the students, us, use the $200 million that we pay every year to request more renewable energy from Duke Energy. I think we also need to partner with them because we can evolve with their programs in a way that will both benefit. At North Carolina Student Energy Network, we've already begun meeting with administrators at the UNC system who are very receptive to these ideas. So I really liked your point, listening to us, it's really great, thank you. And we're already talking about beginning these conversations with Duke Energy. But I think we need to go even farther than that. I think we need to start leveraging our purchasing power as a system as well as individual campuses, having these tough conversations and work together so that our political climate in the future, as well as our funding, becomes more stable and sustainable. So this is a picture of the North Carolina Student Energy Network, and it's really awesome to work with them. But I think the last thing I want to say is that what's great about partnering with the IT companies in the future when this happens, because I'm sure that it will, is that we have similar commitments. We have the same goals. And they want to be seen as clean energy businesses, and we want to lead the way. Students want to see more clean energy. That's obvious. We're concerned with climate change. But it's clear that as a system, we need to make that happen, and we already are, as evidenced by this conference, which is why I'm really grateful to be here. So I'll give you a second to read this quote. And the bottom line I want to say is that our generation defines the question of global warming, climate justice, and the willingness to put the available solutions to work in this way. Dishonesty asks the question, is there absolute scientific proof? Complacency asks, can we afford to make these changes with our newly cut budget? Cowardice asks, are we willing to take the heat for pressuring Duke Energy to move away from dirty energy resources? But conscience asks the question, what are we waiting for? Thank you very much.
Perspective of being at two different campuses in the UNC system. So right now I'm at UNC Greensboro, doing a master's degree, and formerly I was at UNC Asheville, where I did my undergraduate degree, and I was also involved at the Student Environmental Center. So I'm just going to sort of talk briefly about lessons learned between the two different campuses. So I'm going to start by talking about campus culture. I think that's really important to sort of achieving the goals that we want to do. And sort of along with that goes that every campus is different. And that's perhaps goes without saying, but I think we need to keep that in mind. One thing that works at one campus might not necessarily work at another campus, or at least it will have to be sort of modified or adapted for it to be successful. And so, even though there are some of these differences, there are obviously a lot of commonalities at the same time. And I'm glad that Anthony touched upon this. One of the big commonalities that I see are institutional commitments. So I guess we're thinking on the same wavelength. I guess I'm on the right track. So I won't repeat too much of what Anthony said. But some of the examples of institutional commitments are including language of sustainability in mission statements, signing the President's Climate Commitment. But from a student perspective, having organizations like Student Environmental Center at UNC Asheville, which is an organization that's funded through student fees, that basically provides students with internships to work on sustainability issues on campus. But also related with that would be research. And that's obviously a place where faculty can get on board. And that can be done both the undergraduate and the graduate level. And so in particular, I want to highlight why institutional commitments are important from a student perspective is because of the transient nature of students. 4 years, I guess on average, is a long time, but we're always kind of, turning over. And that's a perpetual problem on most campuses in terms of student leadership. And so I think that having institutional commitments really helps, I guess, lower the barriers for students to get involved. But also just to sort of document things that are going on campus, so that when students come to campus, they already know what's been done, they know who to talk to, where to get resources, so that they can sort of hit the ground running. Because, as we talked about, we don't have a lot of time to really do these things that we want to do. And so that sort of leads into the concluding point, which is that at UNCA, things are a bit more bottom up in a sense. So UNCA is a relatively small school. I think there's like 3,500 students. It's focused on undergraduate education. And there's sort of a long history of a campus culture of sustainability there. So it's really easy for students to organize and to work with faculty and staff. On the other hand, at UNCG, campus culture of sustainability certainly exists there, but it's not quite to the same extent. So we're sort of struggling a little bit, at least as student organizers there. And so I see at UNCG it's a bit more top down. We have an office of sustainability, we have full-time sustainability staff. I guess we're at UNCA that, at least right now, we don't. But I guess that will change. And so for lack of better terms, I sort of see that as sort of bottom-up processes and top-down processes. And I don't really see either one of those as being better than the other. If you've seen the Woody Allen film, Whatever Works, that's kind of the philosophy that I go by. And like I said, every campus is different. So, whatever works. But ideally, what I think we all want is a hybrid of those two. Is to have, both students and faculty and staff all come together and collaborate and learn from one another. And I know I said that UNCA was a bit more bottom up, but I actually think it really does fit the hybrid model that I'm talking about, especially with the Student Environmental Center. I know there's a bunch of people that are from there. Well, I guess another thing that I forgot to mention was at UNCA with the Student Environmental Center, I was only able to accomplish the things that I did there because students before me sort of stepped up and created a student fee to fund the Student Environmental Center. And so I'm really grateful for past students, and I hope that us organizers at present can help future students do the same thing. So yeah, I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
My name is Linda. As Elsie mentioned, I'm originally from Ohio. I lived in Florida after graduating from undergrad. And it was a big decision when I was picking a grad school where I was going to go. I've been to North Carolina, been to the other guys on vacation, things like that. I never lived in the mountains. Looked at App State online. Their presence of sustainability was fantastic. From websites, from everyone I talked to in the technology department, I decided pretty much on a whim that I was going to try out the mountains and see how things went. It was a 2-year grad program, so what could go wrong? One of the best decisions I think I've made in what will just be a short life so far. So it's really amazing. When I got here, I was a little bit overwhelmed at what group I was going to try and get involved with, because I wanted to focus on something and not overextend myself and really spread myself too thin. So I got the opportunity from my program director to interview for a position with the Office of Sustainability, which was great. I got the position my first semester, and they put me on the Zero Waste Initiative, which took a lot of back-ended research on my end. In my undergraduate career, it was way back when where we started a recycling hub because we wanted paper recycling in all the academic buildings. So seeing where colleges have come in 8 years is amazing to me, and we're moving in such a good direction in every university and all our recycling programs. It's just been great to see firsthand goal has been, with the Recycle the Rock program, is a volunteer-based student program where we go out at the football games and we interact with all the people that are out tailgating. We have a great setup where everyone is handed these green bags that you see in the one picture and a trash bag. And all they have to do is put their recycling in the green bag, their trash in the black bag, and our landscape services come around and pick everything up. They don't have to take bags anywhere, they don't have to sort out all their recycling into separate containers, anything like that. So we have it really easy, and we just need voices out there to spread the word, encourage people to do sort their trash from their recycling, and try and get the highest numbers into those recycling dumpsters at the end of the day. So it's good too to reach out to our campus this way, because I go in, I was researching all the different academic departments and what kind of courses they were offering. A lot of our freshman seminar classes have service hours that are required. So there's the obvious classes that are the contemporary green living. So those teachers are all on board. They want their students out there getting active, really being involved with what's going on campus. But then I reached out further, and outside of some of those real obvious classes, I found the service and leadership program. So those students are required to do a certain number of hours every semester, and these are students that aren't always as knowledgeable about recycling processes and things like that. So it's great to reach out to this part of campus that isn't really sure if they're interested in these green initiatives. They hear about them all the time. It seems pretty easy to do. So that's kind of my main focus, is reaching out to make behavioral changes to students they're going to take with them in their workplace, wherever they go after they leave our campus, and they can influence a whole other group of people beyond that. So the Recycle the Rock was great, and we got a wide variety of students. It was different every football game. We had a different group of students. So we reached a lot of people that way. And then in spring, we started our internship program through the office. So we had Earth Week, and one of the days of Earth Week was dedicated to the Zero Waste Initiative. So for this day, each of the interns planned their own event that I helped them with the logistics and how they were going to make things happen. So there's a couple pictures. We did composting in one of the dining halls. We did a trash sort on the mall, which resulted in 20 bags of garbage being sorted into less than one bag after we pulled out all the recycling that was in the trash from an academic building, which is a really great visual to have on the mall all day and explaining to students as they're walking by between their classes if they're stopping and wondering why there's a bunch of trash sitting out. So it was really good. We do things like swaps. So all the students are really into it. We had student interns from a very wide range of departments and majors. So it's great. We have so many great programs that are really sustainability focused, but part of our drive in the sustainability office is this spread across campus, that it's not just the sustainable development program, it's not just the technology department majors. So having this core group of student interns that I went to every week and scheduled meetings with and had them out canvassing the campus about our initiatives was really great, because my voice can only go so far, and how we're going to reach all 17,000 students is not just my voice alone. So they were really great to have help spreading the word about what we're doing. So from what Mr. Christie was saying, it sounds like that 80% of action, we're on the right track. We just got to get the rest of those 17,000 students. Thank you.
So this may seem cluttered, but I've been collaborating with a lot of groups on campus with several initiatives. As I go through these bullet points, I'm answering two questions. Who did my group collaborate with, and how did it contribute to my education? First one, Zero Waste Football. It was the Charlotte Green Initiative, the student funding body, and student senator, I wrote legislation to actually start an initiative before we got to CGI back in 2010. And I worked with recycling as well to, find out what fit in the legislation. And we worked with athletics and Chartwells, which Chartwells is a food dining services. And then with Greek Life and ROTC provides student support, which you'll see in a picture, future slide, seeing collaboration between faculty, staff, and students. With ECO's program, I worked with some students to start the initiative actually last year was the first year, And it's a collaboration between the Sustainability Office and Housing and Residence Life. And yeah, it's not really up there. With the Cycle Club, with my officers and with, the Parking and Transportation Services Advisory Board and all those different groups I was with, we did several initiatives. The bike repair stand is the first stand we have on campus behind Student Union. I worked with the Student Union director to do that. With the bike racks, there's no inventory of where the pieces of bike racks were, which I used my geography degree to go around the GPS and map out all locations. And then I used GIS to make an online map so I could display to people. And I did a service analysis to find where future locations need to go, and I gave that to facilities management to install 100 new bike racks over the last year. So, and cyclists have enjoyed that very much because they used to be parking on light poles and accessibility ramps and anywhere except for bike racks. And then with bike lockers and the parking decks, I work with Parking and Transportation Services to put in so it eliminates people from having to come to Ford campus, you park in the perimeter, get on a bike, and then you come to Ford campus. So it reduces as many cars in the Ford campus there. Currently working with Park Services to develop a bike resource page. We currently don't have really anything sustainable related on our parking services website, and everything's pretty much related to cars and parking cars. So that's something that I'm still doing, and you'll see in future slide a picture of that page. And I mentioned the advisory board. I work with the director of parking services and the transportation manager to create that board because there was no any communication between students and the staff on transportation issues, at least on sustainable transportation issues. You go there for parking issues, but if you wanted to ask about biking or walking, there wasn't really any resources there. So that board helped me communicate with the staff and faculty as well in that area. And then I was doing my senior honors thesis on greenway accessibility, which helps to a lot of communities will put down a greenway, but are not going to do the post analysis with understanding who's using the greenway and how it's impacting people's transportation patterns. So I work with my department of Geography and Sciences to do that. So this is the Zero Waste Initiative. On the left, you see the planning stages. We had the students mostly there, and then we had a faculty member, faculty advisor, and then we had a representative from recycling, from athletics, from Chartwells, all in the room, which was pretty cool. I mean, I never had the opportunity to do this, and it was quite eye-opening to see the collaboration between the different departments of campus to bring this initiative to campus. On the right, you see the staff members from the recycling office instructing Greek Life and other students on how to man the recycling and composting stations in the football stadium. This is something that I'm currently working with Parking Services to develop. I worked on this my last semester of college. The yellow dots there are the bike rack locations, and they have the number of bike racks and whether they're covered or uncovered. And then the red lines are all the bike lane layer for the city of Charlotte, and then green lines are greenways. So it allows for off-campus travel. So it provides people to see it is feasible to campus driving in a car. So that's the goal of this resource page. So I was going to end with what I've learned over the last 4 years. The last few slides have shown the positive, everything that's been great. There's some things that we improved on, and that's what this slide is about. Some groups created agendas and minutes, others not, and the ones that not, it really impacted my experience. Meetings end late, start late. There was no flow. It was just, people were just like, well, what's going to happen next? And no one really wanted to be there. And that's not how, initiative needs to start. You need to keep people engaged and focused. And having agenda minutes also, allows for, you can look back at what you did, so you don't want to do it, looking for t-shirts for 2 months. And some of my folks did that. They spent 2 months looking for t-shirts, and that's something that really involved me. I hope more groups will, will create things. Some of my groups experiment with the leadership model, which is different from the traditional model with president, vice president, treasurer, secretary. I like the leadership model because it got rid of the, presidents, got superpower, and then you got treasurer and secretary, and may not seem as limited or, having power as president. Having a leadership, everybody has top leaders. So there's more collaboration among the leaders. So you can divvy up, say, you're doing this, you're writing grants, you're taking notes this time. And it also allows for cross training because as a senior, I know that, if your treasurer graduates, you don't have to replace them. If you have a secretary that's training writing grants, you can, move them now until you get a treasurer, you can have them do treasurer and secretary. So that's something that a lot of groups didn't really have. They had somebody for treasurer, they wrote grants all the time. And I like to see more of the leadership model on campuses. And as a senior, this goes along with what I said with training. I went to some student elections, not my own, but other people were getting elected, and I've never seen a meeting before. They came for the first meeting during elections because they needed leaders, because there wasn't any students interested in leading, so they sent out an email and people showed up. And I just feel that's a pretty bad way to come in for a new, president coming in for the first time as for the first meeting. And so I feel like there needs more training, so then it could be more, ability to make sure the club exists beyond now. Because if I had not trained my new president for Cypress Club, there wouldn't be a Cypress Club next year. Because I started Cypress Club in January of this year, and I'm still training my president, and a lot of groups are not training their new leaders, and that's something that I feel like could improve groups and allow for this collaboration and initiatives to continue in the future. So let's collaborate, and thank you.
Special projects committee that I work on, how we work, what we do, some of the projects that we've done, what has been successful, and some of the challenges that we've done, or that we've had. So let's do a little bit of crash course here on RSBC. We are about 20 students, and we manage a $4 per semester per student fee that adds up to over $200,000 per year to renewable energy, energy efficiency, and energy education projects on campus. Since our inception in 2004, we've done 5 renewable energy projects, 21 efficiency projects, 14 of those being LED light retrofitting, and 10 education projects. And the education projects can be anywhere from licensing fee for movie screenings, honorariums for speakers, internship funding, and what. And when we decide to do a project, there are 5 basic criteria that we look at. First, direct energy savings. Second, visibility, educational value, direct student benefit, and of course, avoided costs. Me as a business school student, I like to take the ROI, payback period, take on these projects because I like to see that there is a business case for renewable energy, and that being a sustainable company has nothing to do with the notion that being sustainable can be inferior or lesser or a company or a hindrance on getting things done. It's something that you need to do in collaboration with the business that you're actually in. And Anthony, had touched on this in his presentation. The revolving loan fund is something that we use with our fund. It's where you take and you lend money to a building to do an efficiency project. And with the money that they save on their electricity bill, they'll pay back a portion or all of the cost of the project without any upfront capital. And then that money that gets back put into our fund gets lent out again, and then paid back again and lent out again into a revolving fund that continues to make our campus more efficient. My role in our SBC has evolved from a student project member. We take a consulting-like field where groups of 2 to 4 take a project on, see it through. And I've evolved from a member and project worker to a committee member, which goes to the student fee advisory board and tell them that we're not wasting their money. Tell them that this is what we've been doing, and we haven't had any problems with them so far, but when I went to one of the meetings, they're in front of me, I put the park out there, so I'm gonna be careful. And now my role as co-chair is to kind of lead and guide those 2 to 4 person groups and make sure that these projects get done in a timely manner, and make sure that these people in these groups meet with the right faculty and staff and get the right information to get these projects done. Because that is the biggest problem, the biggest strength that we need to focus on is communication. Anthony also mentioned this. Making sure that our students get in touch with the right people to get these projects done as fast as possible. For example, for one solar project that we've been working on in our student union, we've had to talk to people about structural issues, electrical issues, technical, legal, signage, maintenance, and all of these issues, building manager and all of the different departments, before we even get to the company about the panels. And so that goes to show how much effort that our students are putting in and how dedicated we are to getting these projects done. And I look forward in the future to getting more done. I hope that our proven successes foreshadow nicely to the continuing increasing the effectiveness of students as partnership collaboration with the college. Thank you.
I think it's apparent that we have very driven and informed students in our University of North Carolina system. But I would like to open up the floor for questions, and I would like to start the dialogue. Ms. Wu, in my conversation earlier, this sparked this question. There's a lot of great smaller efforts going on, whether this is a bunch of smaller student clubs, and they're all having this issue with the transition of leadership. How and what could we do as students or as faculty and administrators to bring more collusiveness to these efforts and maybe do more with more people and more clubs rather than a lot of smaller groups? Or is that even necessary, the smaller groups working best? Yeah.
Yes, okay. I'd say that's definitely a problem at NC State, and the state people can attest to this. I think that one of the solutions that we've kind of come up with when I transferred there, the sustainability office at the state is great. Y'all are out there, you know who you are. Were really receptive to me, and I came up to them and I said, I think we need to have a sustainability fund, and I think we need to have an eco-reps program. Because eco-reps, I'm sure a lot of you know, is started by the EPA, but it's a behavioral change kind of program that works with students on and off campus to change their behavior. And at a school like NC State, where we're really huge, we can have a lot of impact with that. And I'm going to be the new student coordinator of that in the fall. I'm really excited because I think we can have a clearinghouse of information where we kind of do like a 101, how do you change something at a university level if you find something that you don't like? Or how do you increase collaboration and do all the things that, you know, Ray has done and talk to all those people and create boards. So I think having that toolbox so that you can give it to people that are really driven is really important, and that we're starting that, and it's a really great way to do it.
On a different note, one of the great things I've seen here at App is the fossil-free App State group. There were nearly 100 of us that traveled to Durham to see the building Kevin do the math tour, and from that trip is how the fossil-free App State group has formed. And Harvard Ayers, one of the professors here on campus, is the one that is really driving that. So you can tell that he's going to be dedicated to this group. So as a faculty advisor, he's definitely a great person leading that group. So I think that really helps in a student group environment too. So the divestment campaign is the 350.org program that's trying to get universities to divest their endowments from 200 of the dirtiest outlined major companies, so that we're investing the money that students are paying for their tuition into clean companies and companies that will be moving us as a generation in the right direction.
One thing that I've noticed at UNC is that with collaboration, I was part of starting the Google Calendar with across, allowing Earth Club, CGI, Cypress Club. We have probably 50 green groups on campus, and each one has probably 10 to 15 active members, which splits our, green groups are already limited on members, and having a split membership like that hurts, initiatives like we're working on. So we worked on creating a Google Calendar that basically sharing the link, and it helps people stay informed about when, not protests, but gatherings happening.
When we want to gather to protest.
Are, so we can allow for anyone to see, and hopefully we just started this, I think it's called OrgSync, orgsync.com. It's called, we just started that, and started right when I graduated, but it has a calendar on there as well, and hopefully that will increase collaboration as well on campus. But and we also use Google Docs, which helps with training new officers and allowing resources to continue after people graduate, like I just did. So Google Docs, Google Calendar, it's nice collaboration tools.
Any questions from the audience? Any comments? Yes.
One of the challenges of student leadership is the fact that it often comes in cycles. And as you mentioned at UNC Charlotte, trying to train your future leaders is one of the ways to prevent the cycle from going into a downturn. When you're in a downturn, how do you get it to the up cycle of that leadership?
I think it goes to how many active students we have on campus. One thing that really bothered me is that probably 10% of campus is actually active in student clubs. And that just, I spent my whole senior year, instead of doing biking initiatives, it's some, but I could put a lot more time focusing on initiatives rather than looking for a new president, vice president, and all these leaders. I only found a president during the whole year, because whenever I asked people, will you be president of Cypress Club? And they were like, do I do what you did? And I was like, well, the student org office only required to do 3 meetings per semester and have a president, vice president, and treasurer. And you only need a secretary. So I only need 3 meetings. I don't need to do all the communication you do, creating boards, going around looking at all the fact racks and creating change on campus, making where people's lives are more livable and where you can get exercise and everything like that. And you're like, oh, I can do that. I can just create 3 meetings per semester. I was like, okay, this is what we're dealing with on campus. I'm hoping that does not happen, because I'm hoping the new president will actually do something. But I'm concerned that unless staff and faculty at UNC help with collaboration with the students and push them to go further than just the requirements of the student org office. That's something that I just would like to see more involvement from the students than just the 5 students right here, because this represents 10% basically from what I've seen.
I'll add another option to that question too. We have a student sprouting from the contemporary green living class that we had working with the Zero Waste Initiative, who's interested in starting a TerraCycle club on campus, which we are pretty sure we can help them. There's an old green club that kind of had fizzled out because there's so many other green initiatives in different clubs that we're pretty sure we can bring back this green club with some guidance from the same faculty advisor who we're going to help him set this up in the fall when he gets back from summer break. So we're hoping that using class resources from teachers is also a way that he can kind of reach out to students that might not know about some of these clubs that have fizzled out, especially freshman year when they're figuring out what they want to get involved in on campus.
So I'll give a shout out to the Student Environmental Center at UNCA. So those are paid internships. So I think we can have jobs out of these things. if you pay students, I think that might, motivate you a little bit more to get involved.
There you go. Absolutely.
I'll echo that. That's a great tool. But I just want to say, I don't think you should just reach out to what you think are like the environmental science classes, right? Because interdisciplinary is so important. We have business school people, everybody's got a different focus. And I tell my group all the time when we're trying to go pitch a class, like, hey, come join our fossil free group. We don't just want to go talk to the environmental science club. If you put out opportunities like coming to things like this, or internships or other opportunities, you have to make sure to not just target the people that you think are going to be interested. Because the people that you talk to, like in the business school, or like in our CALs, or agriculture school, or engineering school, are where you're going to find people that you never thought you'd find before.
How do you all deal with being brickwalled by administration? Or what I mean by brickwalled is having difficult conversations because of the turnover of students. We are here for 4 years. How do you deal with having those conversations that will take longer than a 4-year conversation?
That's an awesome question. That's a really tough answer. I'd say for like the stuff that I'm working on with doing student administration, that's definitely more than 4 years, right? Like I want a long-term renewable energy goal for us, and I'm going to graduate next year. I think it's about building relationships, and that's why I brought my leaders to a lot of those meetings so that they don't just recognize me. It's more of this movement that hopefully we can keep it on the upswing as you talk about, and training leaders. And when you get brickwalled, I might have a different answer than everybody else, but I think it's important to make a good case and ask for what you want up front and say, we have student support, we're here for the students, and this is what we think we should do and collaborate. And, if you're not getting what you want, then you might have to improvise. Do things, shake it up, grab wheels.
I know the student-funded renewable energy initiative here on campus makes a very conscious effort when they're installing the new officers that they have a good mix from freshmen all the way through seniors and grad students. Especially grad students are mostly 2-year programs here. While they have a wealth of knowledge, they're here for a short amount of time. So making sure they get the right freshmen and continue that cycle of a nice diverse mix of student ages is really important to that group's livelihood.
I think with the long-term goals with like classical resource master plan, we don't have one. A lot of campuses do. I think using resource one that they created about 2 years ago, and using that as a model for UNC here in Charlotte. We have a parking master plan. We have circulation master plan, which was done in 2007, I believe. It's supposed to be updated in 5 years. It actually has, it says in the circulation master plan that 1% of students bike, which has a 2007 number, and I've been pushing since for the last few years for them to update it and actually do more than an online survey. They got the number from an online survey. And for me, at bottom, because I'd rather, go out and actually survey people and do an inventory of bike racks, concrete. I mean, not everyone uses their bikes, but you got to actually practice their bikes to account. So it's something that, and having a bicycle master plan, I think Chapel Hill's doing one right now, updating theirs or having the first one. It's just something that would really help to encourage bicycle use and see where the strategies are. And I wasn't able to do that in around 4 years, but I pushed for it, and hopefully some student, whoever takes up Cycle Club next, will push for that.
Getting back to your question about getting brickwalled and having fallout when people leave the university, I think something we need to go back to. Ray was talking about grooming the next leaders, and he was talking about you have to take and train the people that are going to take over for you and educate them on what you've been doing, the progress that you've made on the project, and let them continue that and introduce them to the right people and have the confidence that they'll be able to take it from there.
Okay, I think we've about run out of time. I have time for one more question. Back in the back.
How are you using student media on your campuses? How are you reaching your fellow students through student media?
First, we have, at least for UT Charlotte, we have tons of Facebook groups, Facebook pages. I think I'm a member of 800 Facebook groups now. from across the United States and internationally. I follow basically every single bike club across the state or across the country to find what they're doing. But that's, I mean, it's effective communication-wise. You know, we have email as well, but I'm curious how the org sync will work for user Strout, because that's going to be a lot of tool for communication.
Similarly, we kind of use every approach possible to kind of make sure we're reaching anyone and everyone that's on any sort of social media outlet, from Twitter to Facebook, of course, and then emails. I'm sure every university system is the same. We're getting hundreds of emails a week. Probably 10% of those are relevant or interesting to students. So I've heard so many students that have figured out how to put filters on the ASU info, and they don't even get them. They're in their spam folder. They don't open them. So if you send out a general announcement on email to 17,000 students, we're figuring a couple hundred open that email. So we've kind of reverted back to the face-to-face contact. We have people tabling in the union. We have people out on the mall on nice days before events happen on campus, and just kind of a little bit rogue, get in your face approach, but it works really well. And then if you find the right person, they're going to go tell their friends about this great event that's happening. So we're kind of going old school a little bit with our stuff.
Grassroots, as she said. And I just say I'm a big plug for our student paper. Not enough students read it. I make friends with reporters and, you know, like, hey, will you do an article about us? And I would say not even limited to your student paper. I remember there was an article about this in the Watauga, is that right? Watauga Democrat that I read about. I mean, that's awesome. Other people outside your community read that, and I think your campus community read that, and I think just every approach possible is definitely good, face-to-face over email for sure. And for people that don't have smartphones like me, social media is definitely not the best way to reach everyone. I know I'm a few, I know everybody is smart. There's still a few of us out there.
Thank you. Let's give our panelists a round of